going on, guys? This is the Wisdom Matrix, and this video is about what is actually causing your ego to what is actually causing your ego to exist at all, for the most part. And the answer is your idea of separateness. That is, your idea that you are, separate from your reality or everybody else around you. Because if you thought you were, one with everybody, your ego would pretty much be gone. Your ego would be gone. Your mind wouldn't be gone necessarily, but your ego depends. Literally depends upon you believing that you are separate from your reality, which is why it's important to try and see it all of humankind as you or your family or something like that, because that's how you start to break away from the ego. And I've said that you shouldn't like try and get rid of the ego, but and I do believe that to some extent. Like, you shouldn't force your way out of getting rid of your ego, because that doesn't work. But by doing this, it does get rid of your ego a little bit at a time, and actually, because of this separateness is what causes your suffering, because you believe that you need these things to be happy or whatever it is, for the most part. And when you're one with everything, you don't really need anything, because a way to think about this is, if God, what does God need, really? Like, if God is one with everything, then he needs nothing, because God has everything. God is everything, so he needs nothing. And your needs cause your suffering and your reactions and a lot of the divisions and stuff. A lot of ways that the ego keeps itself going is by blaming other people, and by looking at the world, and finding fault or whatever. But it doesn't find fault in itself. And I'm not saying that you need to, find fault in yourself or be guilty for things, but not necessarily finding fault in yourself, but finding things that I wouldn't call it fault. I'd call it finding things that you need to grow on and build on. That's what I'd call it, not finding fault, because finding fault doesn't actually work. When you say it's your fault or whatever, it's somebody else's fault, it doesn't actually solve the problem. I'd rather call it's your challenge to learn and grow. This is how it works. This is why this is what spirituality is to become one with everything, basically. And finding fault is a good way of keeping the ego in place. Criticism, blame, finding problems in the world or in your own life, or whatever whatever you're finding fault with. And I'm not saying that you have to like things necessarily, that I'm just saying that all these things is a distraction that your ego uses to keep itself in place. And That's why it's important to, practice things like tapping into the infinite. Basically, just watching your awareness and, trying to find, just what does your awareness feel like? What does it look like? Basically, become aware of something right now, like you're breathing, and follow that awareness back to your awareness. And your awareness doesn't really have any qualities, because if it had any qualities, it wouldn't be able to be aware of anything. Another word for becoming one with everything is to say that you're becoming yourself again, because you believe that yourself is, the thoughts in your head, or, some image that you have, that you hold about yourself, like you're white, or you're black, you're a nice person, you're not a nice person, you're a Republican, or a libertarian or a communist or something. And these things keep the ego in place in a lot of ways, because these things are, well, they're masks and they're hooks. Basically, the ego is a mask. The whole ego is just a mask that's masking over your true self. And your true self is just, it's beyond all these things of what you think you are, your so-called personality or whatever. This is why I say personalities don't exist, because they don't. Personality is an ego thing. There's more that could be said about how, because you believe, because of all this separateness, this is why there's so many, problems in the world right now. This is why there's so much violence and war and religious conflict and all this other stuff, because people believe that they're, separate. Not even necessarily because they believe that they're separate, but because they believe that their beliefs are all automatically, just correct, and anybody else is wrong, or evil or whatever. And that's separating yourself off from these people, instead of trying to not even empathize with them, just like become one with them. Just think of them as you or your family or something like that, because usually when you think of your family or you don't think of them in like this person just deserves what is happening to them. But this is why it's important to remove much of the ego from your mind. Much of the ego is based on this separateness, and separateness breeds contempt and hatred and all these other things. So that's why politics is so divided right now, because everybody is so separated from everybody else that the empathy and compassion that should be, well, not should be, but would normally be there if if you were your true self isn't there, because they believe that wholeheartedly in this separateness. And so that's why it continues. Anyways, this is the Wisdom Matrix. If you like this video, please like it, share it, subscribe. I might make another video about this later on. I don't know. We'll see what happens. This is the Wisdom Matrix. I'll see you in the next video.